and they don't see anything, and then they look up. I was like.
Hello everybody!
Hi!
Everybody?
Everybody! We've had weeks to actually prepare like an actual good...
It's very hot.
I know,
That's
it's
my
very
only
hot.
excuse.
Shall I show them? Shall I show them something?
Go on. Oh my...
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's Danny Berg's. Can I show my wristwatch tab?
Well, yeah, that's just cool.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's just cool.
Look at that wristwatch tab.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's been an incredibly busy time for Danny and I of recent. We've had people, friends visiting, family visiting, and it's been non-stop really. So thank you for all being very patient with us whilst we enjoy the fruits of life.
And summer in general.
And summer just in general, yeah.
Hopefully you guys are watching a lot of our videos, but also going outside.
Yeah. Or watching our videos outside.
Well, I think we're probably the only YouTubers who would tell people to like maybe just go outside. Don't bother with the whole YouTube thing.
Yeah, just go outside, enjoy everything. After all, we are outside right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, we
definitely. We're back to normal though now. We're all back to normal. And we left off last time and it was Jack's story. So that's time for my story now.
I'm so excited.
So I've got it right here. Let me get it out. Okay.
I'm excited.
Alright.
We always make quite a big deal about the title over here at Haha No.
Yeah.
So Danny, lay it on me.
Oh
no.
That's fine, isn't it?
That's fine.
That's alright.
Yeah.
That's alright.
It's just sundown.
Okay, so the title for my story this week is Pixelated.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Aston had worked more jobs by the age of 30 than most people had in a lifetime. You name it, he cashed a check from it. He'd been a chef at his mum's Mexican fusion restaurant till the roof caved in. He'd been a courier for a law firm. He'd worked at 2 rival distilleries at the same time. He'd even had a stint as a railway conductor, and those were just the ones worth mentioning. Between them, he'd been a cashier, a waiter, a bank teller, a pizza delivery driver, a bricklayer, a roofer, and a copywriter, to name but a lot. From the outside, and especially to his family, it looked like Aston couldn't hold down a job. At get-togethers, his family would make jokes about where he'd be next Monday. "Aston, my lad," his Uncle Jim would say, gripping his shoulder tightly in a slightly patronising kind of way. "A job is for life, not just for Christmas." Aston never told him that that joke didn't even work. Christmas was usually a day off. Inside though, Aston felt differently. He loved his jobs and gave it his all with every one, but as the weeks turned into months, he became deflated. What started out like his calling in life would leave him feeling strangely empty. It felt as if there was always something else out there, somewhere he had to be, an empty jigsaw space just waiting for him to slot into and take his place in society. And this new job, this strange opening that he'd applied to just the week before, seemed like it was the one. Wiper was the fastest growing company in the world, only a year old but quickly becoming a mainstay in the world of technology. The premise was simple really, so simple that Aston wondered why nobody had come up with it before. For an undisclosed fee, they would wipe your existence from the internet forever. Of course, services like this have been available in different forms for years, but none of them have been as big, as professional, and as thorough as Wiper. Their tagline said it best: "Wiper, like you never existed." When Aston found the job online, he presumed he was underqualified. He thought they'd need a programmer or a deprogrammer, a techie person with years of experience to help globalize them and keep up with the ever-increasing demand for anonymity. But the job was much more simple than that. Wiper needed a security guard. As Aston read the description, he was surprised to learn that the company stores their clients' records, the ones they expunge from the public, and keeps them in their own data storage center just outside of the city. He'd never heard any uproar about this detail. Perhaps people didn't care if Wiper had their information as long as they kept it to themselves. The description didn't say why Wiper did it anyway, only that they needed a security guard to work overnight. The position was temporary, and the job began next week. It took Aston over an hour to fill out the forms and tailor his resume, but only 10 minutes for them to reply. "Thank you for your interest in this position." the email began. "After careful review, you have been selected for this role at Wiper. Please report to Mr. Diamond at Wiper Inc., 9 p.m, Monday. Here is your employee handbook." Aston glanced over the attached PDF. Everything looked in order, no different to any of the other jobs he'd worked in the past. It all seemed normal, except for the unnervingly quick reply. When Aston arrived at the facility the following Monday, he was fully prepared for there to be a mistake. He pulled up to the black steel gates emblazoned with a red W and pushed the intercom button. The gates swung open before he'd even finished saying his name. Aston was stunned by the sheer size of the building. Endless rows of identical black blocks, each with a single white door but no windows. He wondered how he'd never seen this while driving past, but now he was inside the compound. He could see that the line of trees was so deep there was no way to see in, or out for that matter. Parking the car in one of the sea of open spaces, Aston walked towards what looked like the main block, or perhaps it was just the nearest one to him. As he approached the door, he noticed a man standing there in the window. Aston waved. The man did not. It was only when they were face to face that he opened the door to greet him. "Aston Jarvis, I'm Mr. Diamond. Come in. Let's get you sorted." Aston tried to exchange pleasantries, but they were waved away by Mr. Diamond, who ushered them down the long granite hallway ahead. To Aston, he looked like a man on autopilot, grey beyond his years, a brow that had drooped to his tired eyes, cracked lips that only opened unless they absolutely had to, and in this case, it was to tell Aston all the do's and don'ts of the job. He was to patrol the hallways of the blocks. Each one was lined on both sides by huge computers, blinking and humming in the darkness. Mr. Diamond offered little else in terms of a welcome, only to say that Mr. Diamond is how he should be addressed, and it was his job to watch the security cameras. After throwing on the blue overalls that fit surprisingly well, Aston made his first round. For the most part, every hallway was the same. Cold, gloomy, functional. They were so identical that Aston almost lost track of which of the 50 blocks he'd covered. The only landmarks were the occasional whirs and bleeps as new data was received by the computers, and even they sounded the same. As he rounded the corner of Block 23, something was different. There was a strange sound emanating down the hallway. It sounded like static, artificial, but not in the way he had heard it before. It was quiet at first, underneath the normal beeps and whirring noises, but as he walked to the end of the hallway, it grew louder. Aston squinted into the darkness, but was unable to see anything except the same black surroundings as every other block. His heart began pounding. What was he supposed to be guarding? Before, he thought he would just be reporting malfunctions and checking the temperature, but now the badge pinned to his chest seemed to take on a whole different meaning. Security guard. He readied himself and paced towards the noise. Above the fear, he had an overwhelming feeling that he was not alone in Block 23. With each step, the static grew louder. It seemed to ebb and flow in a rhythm with his walking, and it was muffled. As Aston reached the door, he saw why. There, standing outside, was a man with his back to Aston. He was facing the perimeter fence, out into the trees, about 40 feet away, but he was most certainly the source of the droning static. Aston froze, mostly out of instinct, but also in disbelief. Was this really happening to him on his first shift? He had no training for what to do with intruders, and so instinct kicked in. He bolted back down the hallway, through Block 22, 21, 20, all the way back to the control room where he burst through the door to Mr. Diamond. Mr. Diamond, there's a man, there's Block 23, I don't know who, he's making a noise. Mr. Diamond didn't move, didn't turn his head away from the screens for a second. I see him. He's back again. Aston peered round to look at the grimace on Mr. Diamond's face. What do we do? What you will do, Mr. Diamond paused to look directly into Aston's eyes, is tell him to go away. Tell him he's not getting what he wants. Tell him he knew what he was signing up for. Then he pointed at the screen, which displayed the main lobby camera. He's here. Aston followed his gesture to the screen, and to his horror, the man was there, this time facing directly up at the security camera. His face, and only his face, was perfectly pixelated, made up of tiny blocks, each one perfectly square in different shades of flesh, featureless, shifting slightly as he tilted his head. Do you pixelate them automatically? Aston knew the answer he wanted to hear. The answer that would turn this night from a horror show to a funny yarn down the pub with friends, but nothing about the situation told him he was going to hear a comforting answer. No, said Mr. Diamond. He's always like that. Every time he comes, he gets closer each time. You have to go. Aston thought about running, but like a caged animal, the only way out was through fear itself. The pixelated man was stood right in the doorway. Aston mustered up his last morsels of courage, nodded at Mr. Diamond, and made for the entrance. Just like before, the static grew louder. Aston felt it spike the hairs on his back in waves. Louder and louder, he felt tears well in his eyes. His hand shook uncontrollably as he reached for the handle and twisted. Silence. Nothing, except the gravel parking area, his car, the fence, and the wall of trees. Perhaps it was a prank. It was his first day on the job after all. He stayed still like this, his mind detached from body as it raced through every possibility, every explanation, but nothing made sense. It took a sound from behind to jolt him from his daze. The sound of every computer powering down. Individually, they barely would have made a noise, but 40,000 of them together was something different. It sounded like a whale diving into the abyss. The silence was deafening. Aston looked at his car, half deciding whether to make a dash for it, deal with the consequences later. But he gave every job, everything he had. He ran back to the control room, bursting through the door again. Mr. Diamond didn't move. Mr. Diamond, he's gone. The man, the computers, they're all down, Mr. Diamond. He lurched forward to see Mr. Diamond's face, and no training day could have prepared him for what he saw. No therapy could undo it either. Mr. Diamond's face was nothing more than 9 pixels. They shone in the artificial glow of the security screens, but what they were made of was anything but artificial. Flesh. Real flesh. 9 panels of skin in varying shades of pink. They shimmered slightly as Mr. Diamond slumped to his chair. The only sound now was that of Aston's beating heart, pumping blood to legs that were stuck fast to the floor, and then that sound gave way to another. From behind him, quiet at first, pulsating, in time with his heartbeat, it stopped right behind his neck, pulling his hairs towards it. The relentless, encompassing, screeching sound of static.
He's back. The master of sci-fi horror is back. Wow. Dude, I was in a Doctor Who episode, a Black Mirror episode all at once. That was wonderful. Thank you for that.
Thank you. It was fun.
It was also terrifying.
Good. That was the point.
Yeah. And not just. I mean, we can talk about the conceptual stuff afterwards, but start to finish, your literary performance all the way through was gripping.
Thank you, man.
Gripping. Yeah. There wasn't an odd end anywhere. It's mystery after mystery after mystery, and you always. The one thing that I think is testament to a good story is the moment where we as an audience are telling the main character not to do something.
Yeah.
And when he was stood on the ground, it's just like, don't go back in, dude. Don't go. And that's horror 101. But like, we knew he was going to go back in, but the payoff to get him to that point anyway is good.
Yeah. I wanted him to be someone who would do that though.
Yes, but and you laid that groundwork at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he'd give every job that he ever had.
I didn't want him to quit.
Yes.
Because he was searching for something, or like perhaps this was it.
Hey,
he's meant to be there.
Dude, I don't know if this was intentional, but I saw a lot of me in Aston. The start.
Oh yeah.
Job to job, and yeah, especially after we left university and stuff. I was Aston for.
Well, I based a few of the jobs on jobs I've had.
I didn't want to speak for you, but like I also think it was.
I actually got up a list of random jobs, and you can set the obscurity bar. So I set a high obscurity bar and took a few of the random ones.
What, is this a plugin? What?
It's just on a website. I just googled it. I was like, job generator. I was like, I need a mix of really obscure jobs and sort of ordinary ones.
That's dedication. That is dedication.
But a few of them came up were jobs I've actually had. So
yeah. I mean, chef at his mum's Mexican fusion restaurant. I was going to say that's a very specific. No, but like fantastic. That was perhaps one of your tightest narratives.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A to B. And I think because of I don't know. There's something about you, dude, that like something that I can't do, but you just seem to get. You seem to get the horror behind technology. I can't ever quite. Maybe, but like you just do it so flawlessly. It feels like a Charlie Brooker thing, you know. It feels like a Stephen Moffat thing.
Yeah.
Really good. Just clean. You give us just enough for it to be relevant and modern. But then I mean, in some ways, like a lot of the narrative behind that could have been like Roald Dahl, right? I say this a lot about your stuff. Like when you described it as just outside the city, we don't need a sense of place or anything, which is why I think Roald Dahl's fiction was so good, because there never was a sense of place.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere.
For me, like when I think about people telling stories, like original folk stories, a lot of those details, and this is the only way they can really travel, is that details have to be removed, because it has to be something that can be applicable to other people.
Yes.
And maybe that story that I just did has been told many times before, you know, by different people.
In varying forms.
But there was no point mentioning that it was outside of Boston and, it's near that shop, because when you're telling it to someone else on the other side of the world, that doesn't matter. The first thing you would say is it was just outside the city. So
it's the universality of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I sometimes think about that, but I just I also think it helps people sometimes help people picture it a bit if they can transplant 100%. Their own 100%. Stuff onto it. So
also on that point of modern day fairy tales, I feel like that was very much a modern day fairy tale. But I think the retelling of that, if we had to pick something that it's kind of like a component of, it really reminded me of like the Draugr of Norse folklore. Mm-hmm. You know, the undead wights and the barrow wights and stuff. It felt like the Draugr has a grudge to find after death, or in this case, after pixelation, right?
Yeah.
And talk. You just went up a bit, actually. The score just went up a bit.
I was going to say that's exactly what I meant. I picked up on that.
Just give
pat yourself on the back for that. Well done.
No, fantastic, dude.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I think I saw a picture recently with someone being pixelated, and I thought, like, we talked a long time ago about seeing someone in a distance, but because you can't see their face, that's scary. But the only comfort that comes from that is distance. So I was like, what if you remove both of them?
And it's do
you know what I mean? Like, what if you couldn't see that? And it's sort of like a mask, but the mask has sort of been done. But I was just like, what if it's something that we're so familiar with?
But that's also a mask, if we transplanted it to now, like that's also a mask that we're not comfortable with and we're not given. You know, and there's so much grey area to a pixelated face that it's almost, no one would choose to wear that mask, right?
No.
And in an age of anonymity where, the anonymous person is so very important, but for different means.
Yeah.
Like that grey area creates such kind of, almost like a cautionary moral tale, right? Like, which side would we rather be on?
Yeah.
Do we have no reason to? And this is where, when we talk about like surveillance society and stuff, and the one mantra which I think you hit the nail on the head there is that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, right?
Yeah. There's a price to pay. Yeah.
There's a price to pay for anonymity, but what if that anonymity was turned into a commodity?
Well, I quite enjoyed writing it and actually not thinking really at all. I wanted it to be through Aston's eyes. I was like, oh, that would be creepy.
Yes.
Or what if he went there and then, oh, that would be really weird. I wasn't like, there's got to be some, normally like when I've done these ones and it's some sort of dark, shady corporation, I'm like, all right, it has to work behind the scenes. Even if you never asked me about it, even if no one ever commented about it, I'm like, logistically, I need to know what's going on.
There, right?
It doesn't. I have no idea, honestly. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I just thought it would maximise the fear if it's just from accident.
And you nailed that. You nailed that. You took such a modern sci-fi horror theme and applied it into complete and utter mystery, which is, again, like, it was a very human retelling. Wow, man, I was really impressed with that. Good job, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Pixelated.
Yeah.
What was it made of? And that's why I got such Doctor Who vibes, right? You know, the first time, what they called the weird. What are they called, dude? They're big bulbous heads. They wear suits. They got big dangly things.
Santaran.
Is it no?
Oh, big bulbous.
Big. They wear black suits.
Oh, the silence.
The silence.
Oh no, you're the ood.
No, I'm thinking of the.
That I hold the orb.
Okay, I'm thinking of the silence though.
Okay, yeah, silence, yeah.
That was what it felt like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
first time you see that in Doctor Who, and it's.
Yeah. Well, that was actually another thing. Just really quickly, this isn't even about my story, but I was thinking to how genius it was with the silence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember, but like they'd be in a conversation in a room, and they go look at your hand, and they've got three, and then you know there's three of them in the room, and there's one point they're talking for a little bit more, and then one of them looks. And their entire arm is their entire body, and they've obviously sat there for about half an hour doing this, trying to remember, and they don't see anything, and then they look up. I was like,
you could have got that with the Pixelated guys, like.
yeah,
because it almost felt like he was, again, this is why it felt like the Draugr, and that's why I'd use it as a comparison, because, you know, there's so many ancient Norse myths about just a lone Draugr wandering into a town or from the ocean. There's actually a specific Nordic term for a Draugr that originates from the ocean, which I forget, but they're covered in seaweed and stuff. But literally one Draugr could completely take out a town or something, and that's what it felt like, do you know what I mean? The fact that there was just one was really good and really interesting choice. But I thought it was the right choice. Because you could have actually done like Pixelated Zombie Army and stuff.
Well, a sort of thematic inspiration for me was those old 90s video games where the processing power wasn't enough, so everything looked the same. So like I pictured a fence and the woods and the blocks, and it just, there's not enough processing power for it, and there's nothing. Same when it comes to like characters. You might only interact with a couple of people there, but I was like, you never forget those characters. So. The pixelation part as well was sort of a nostalgic trip for me, going back to that sort of, you know, that
there were some RuneScape-esque characters.
yeah, like Lara Croft or something. Those worlds that just felt creepy, like
not quite there.
Just something about it just being copy pasted everywhere, and it just being seeing one character in the distance, sat there and like, you know,
especially like the early like Resident Evil games and Silent Hill and stuff.
Like that, exactly.
Where it's like not even generated yet, and you turn the corner and like if your PS2 or the first PlayStation, that was the grey one.
Yeah.
If it was a little bit laggy, like you had to wait like 2 seconds for the rest of the game to go. Really good modern retailing. I feel like we could speak about this all evening.
Now give me a score then.
I am going to give you a very high 8.1 for that.
Thank you. Solid.
Yeah, I thought that. A very high 8.1.
A high 8.1.
Very high 8.1.
We've already started doing decimals. So
can we do it?
Didn't you give me that 8?
I did you a 0.5.
5.
So that is an 8.199999999 reoccurring.
Oh my god. How many decimal places we do it?
Well,
that's good though. But I feel like I'm so close to an 8.2 now. I'm like so close.
Again, I'm putting them on a rank board in my brain. You know what I mean? And if like the Balkans like a high 8.3, I'm like, you know, it's quite nice for us to actually have enough content to put into a little board.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, shot myself in the foot with that story. Should have saved that a bit, shouldn't I? Well,
don't
anyway.
say that.
I
thought it was brilliant.
Save for another channel.
Wow.
I 2, obviously. Hope you enjoyed that, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being patient and giving us a week to just chill out, basically. I know that's something that a lot of people on YouTube don't say they do or even need, but we really appreciated it. We hope you guys enjoyed the bloopers videos that we put out last week. If you haven't seen them, it's basically all the times me and Jack mess up, which is a lot.
Quite a few of them in this video now, actually.
Yes, there'll be a few from this and the next one, but there's 2 videos worth, so make sure you go and check them out.
Yes.
Keep sending your stories in to this email.
stories@gmail.com, which is right here, conveniently here. Oh, God, I haven't done that in like a week.
I know. I feel rusty with everything.
Yeah. And our live stream will be cut. Is it the 13th?
Yeah, sure.
I believe it's the 13th.
13th. Is it Friday?
Friday.
Is it Friday the 13th?
Is it?
Well, you just said.
Oh my god, is it actually?
Friday?
Is it actually?
Isn't that what you just said?
I haven't got my phone.
Well, whatever.
Okay, if it's Friday the 13th, dope. See you there.
Yeah.
We'll be reading out the top 2 favourite stories from our little writing competition. Hopefully, we'll have laid the groundwork for many more scary stories to come.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for watching, guys.
We've got to. You can pixelate the fire.
Yeah, we can pixelate.
What did you do?
We've got to do the static noise.
I feel like we've done that before.
No, never. Oh. Whoa!
Goodbye, everybody. It's been a pleasure.